Okay, hello and welcome to CCamp. A very good morning to all of our offline and online participants today at the CCamp Technology and Innovation Series Tech Platform special session on Medtech. Uh, Before we introduce the speakers, I'll just give you a very brief intro into what is this CCamp Technology and Innovation Series. So we'll start off. Okay, hello and welcome to CCamp. A very good morning to all of our offline and online participants today at the CCamp Technology and Innovation Series Tech Platform special session on Medtech. Before we introduce the speakers, I'll sorry, a little bit of a hitch. So we'll yeah, so slides are working. So, yeah. So most of you here who are joining us offline, and most of you already know what is CCamp. You don't need an introduction, but there are some online joinees here for whom I'll just give a very brief intro to what CCamp is. So CCamp, a Center for Molecular and Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms, is a DBT-supported initiative with a mandate to foster cutting-edge research and innovation in the life sciences. We do this through three verticals, and I'll just quickly show you what those three verticals are. As you can see, we have tech platforms, a platform that provides access and training on high-end platform technologies to researchers. These high-end platform technologies can be anything from cryo-electron microscope to mass spectrometry to next-gen sequencing to even medtech, as we will see a little while later. We have extensive entrepreneurship programs which offer entrepreneurial support to early stage bio innovators, and we try to create impact in society with their innovative ideas. And the third vertical is our research translation vertical, where we are trying to take academic discoveries and support them through in-house R&D in order to take them to industry. So this is in a nutshell what CCamp is trying to do in trying to create impact in society with science. And we are a founding member of the Bangalore Life Sciences Cluster, a cluster that currently has 4 institutes, CCamp, of course, and then we have NCBS, which was the oldest institute of the cluster, the National Center for Biological Sciences. We have INSTEM, the Institute for Stem Cell Medicine and Regenerative Medicine. And we have the latest joinee, TIGS, the Tata Institute for Genetics and Society, which just joined the cluster in 2020, late 2022. So together, this campus is a very modern and exciting biology campus, one of the top clusters, so to speak, across not just in India, but also across the world. And so there is a lot of exciting science and innovation happening on campus, and that was the reason why Tasleem, our CEO and director, and also Atif, who is our program lead for tech platforms, and other program leads, we thought of finding out a way or a platform where we could increase interaction between the audience and the many program leads and the program facilities that we have at CCamp. And so that is how CTIS was born, and CTIS is now was started during the COVID years when it was very difficult to make things accessible. But now 2 years later, we are still continuing with it, and we hope to gain more momentum. So what is CTIS? It is just a set of talks that aims to facilitate direct interaction with the people behind CCamp's programs and facilities and India's research and innovation community. Why is CTIS important? As I said, it was started off just by thinking that we should increase the accessibility within the ecosystem so that more people know about what are the facilities and programs that are available in CCamp and more people can access them. And that is why it was important, and it still continues to be important. And how is it creating impact? So we have done since 2020, we have had about 15 sessions of CTIS now. And altogether, we have had a footprint of about 1,500. And because we did it online, we used to do it online during the COVID years. Now we are trying to move to a hybrid session. So the participants are basically from anywhere across India. And so this is, today we are actually showing a tech platform special under CTIS, which is a focus series under the same umbrella, where we try to showcase the various technology platforms that are available across BLISC and CCAM and their research applications. So this is under CTIS. Under CTIS, my colleague Ashwita is here, Shiv is here. We would love to do other programs as well, but this is the tech platform special. And under the tech platforms, we have done in the past, we have done the genome engineering, we have done imaging solutions, we have done next gen sequencing, we have done biologics, we have done microfluidics, proteomics, and today's latest one is boosting medtech innovation victories and challenges. And with that, I want to pass on the mic to my colleagues, Dr. Karthik and Dr. Ramchandra, who are from the Medtech Rapid Prototyping Facility at CCAM. This facility was is supported by the National Biopharma Mission, and it was launched in 2021. Right? So that's about it for me. Mohan, can you please help Karthik?
Okay, thanks, Devarshini, for the introduction. And welcome to all the participants who are here offline, as well as the participants who have joined us online. So before I begin, we would like to make this session more interactive. So feel free to stop us if you have any questions in the middle. So let's try to make it as interactive as we can, although yeah. So what we're going to talk today, I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Ram, as well. Both of us are co-heading the Medtech facility at CCAM. And we're going to talk about how the facility has grown since its beginning, the kind of projects that we've been working with, the kind of challenges that we face on a regular basis, and how we overcome them. So we're just going to give you a short introduction about, firstly, about why there is a need for medtech innovation in India. So medtech in India has, it's a booming field, especially in the recent years. And that has been triggered by a number of factors. It's not a singular factor. There are multiple reasons behind it. And I'm just going to touch upon some of the aspects that are, boosting medtech innovation in India, and how the government is formulating a very comprehensive policy to make India one of the world leaders in medical devices. So there are multiple triggers for this. One is especially COVID-19. COVID-19 was, a great tragedy for many people, but in terms of medtech, it gave the boost that medtech needed. So you saw that during the COVID crisis, when people were in desperate need for medical devices like ventilators, pulse oximeters, PPE kits, other medical devices as well, people stepped up. They kind of ramped up the production of these devices, and they made sure that these devices reached the people at the time of crisis. So that kind of gave the boost that players in medtech needed. Secondly is there's a huge market demand for medtech devices. And that is triggered by, again, a number of causes. One is predominantly lifestyle diseases. So in today's day and age, people have been suffering from a lot of lifestyle related ailments, like diabetes, cholesterol. And there are devices that are required to diagnose these issues rapidly. And not just rapidly, but in terms of reduced cost. So people want a device that is cheap, that is easy to use, and that can diagnose their ailment in a matter of minutes. So that, again, has a huge market potential in India, and that is kind of boosting up the medtech space. Thirdly, is Atmanirbhar Bharat policy of the government. So India wants to reduce its dependence on import of medical devices from other countries. As of now, majority of the medical devices are being imported. So we want to reduce that kind of reliance on foreign players. The last, second last is the advancement of AI ML techniques. So although it is not technically medtech per se, the advances in AI, machine learning algorithms have boosted diagnostic capabilities. For example, if you were to do a CT scan and you get a radiology report, AI ML algorithm would enable you to make a quicker diagnosis. So that is kind of, and also automation that is involved with that process is kind of boosting up the medtech space. So the last point that I want to mention is investments. So because of all these triggers, there has been a massive influx of investment from government entities and also from private investors. So that is, so all in all of this have combined to kind of give a rapid spurt in medtech space in India. So as of today, as of 2020, the medtech space in India was worth about $10 billion and is expected to grow at 37% annually to reach 50 billion by 2025. So that's the kind of money that we're talking about in this space. And in terms of government assistance, until now, we were under the purview of the medical device rules of 2017. So all medical devices in India are governed by that particular rule. But recently, just last year, the government of India has released a draft policy for national medical devices policy, which sets an ambitious plan for the growth of medtech in India. So I'm not going to go into too many details of this, but I'm just going to highlight a few important points from this particular policy. One is within the next 10 years, India plans to have a medtech industry growth of about $100 to $300 billion, and with a size of about 10 to 12% of global market share. And again, like I mentioned before, 80% of the medical devices that are sold in India are currently being imported from other countries, and we want to reduce the dependence on this. So this particular policy aims to reduce that. So aims to reduce it by nearly 30% in the next 10 years. So apart from these 2 points, again, there have been a lot of medical device parks that are going to be set up. And again, institutes similar to NIPERS. There's going to be National Institutes of Medical Devices Education and Research, or NIMERS, as we call it. So, so India set up a very ambitious plan for this, and we're excited to be a part of that particular journey. From CCAMP, we are, again, contributing this particular medtech growth in India by through our medtech facility. So this facility, like Devarshini mentioned, is supported by NBM, the National Biopharma Mission. It was officially inaugurated in 2021 by the former secretary of DBT. So what we aim to do as a part of this medtech facility is provide idea to pilot scale device development for anyone who works in the medtech space. So startups, researchers, entrepreneurs, even corporates as well. So we provide a range of services to enable that, starting from designing, POC development, rapid prototyping, and pilot scale manufacturing. So we are essentially a service provider of these, of anything related to medtech devices. So we have a wide range of services for that. One is, I'm going to run you through some pictures later on, but I'm just going to give you a brief glimpse of whatever we cover. So one is our design studio, in which we design these medical devices, both in 2D and 3D form factors. And once we have finalized the design and you want to move into prototype development. So we have some basic prototype tools like 3D printing, laser cutting. And then if you want to scale it up further, if you want to make about 20 to 30 copies of that particular device, then we have tools like vacuum casting, injection molding. Apart from that, we have a world-class class 10,000 clean room facility in which we do lateral flow assay development. And apart from that, we have a separate unit for characterization as well, which includes microscopes, which includes optical profilometers. We also have an ultrasonic welding machine to, seal the interfaces of two medical devices together to get a final form factor. So this is just a summary of the facilities that we have. One is the design studio that I spoke about, where we do two kinds of jobs. One is medical devices, and the other is microfluidic devices, which have a medtech application. So for that, we have some software that we use regularly, like Fusion 360, SolidWorks, that enable you to do 2D and 3D designing. And then for microfluidics, you actually need a specialized software to allow you to make the layouts. So for that, we use something called as Clevin. So we have a team of engineers who help us do these designs. We get requests from clients asking us to do some part of the designing. It might be just a minor modification, or it might be designing an entire device in itself. So we get various requests at various stages of the device development process. And this design studio enables us to do that. Second, I'm just going to run you through our plastics fabrication facility. So this is focused towards plastic-based prototyping. For that, we have a wide range of tools like 3D printing, injection molding, vacuum casting, welding, and CNC micromill that I spoke about. Yeah. So at this facility, the focus is mostly towards plastic-based prototyping. Whereas we have another microfluidics and microfabrication facility, which is a cluster facility that helps us do photolithography and PDMS-based microfluidic devices. So this is another kind of vertical that we deal with. For once you have your devices ready and you want to characterize them, you want to characterize your microfluidic chips, your medical devices, we have a microscopy facility, both upright and inverted with fluorescence capabilities. We have a high-speed camera attached to it if you want to visualize experiments that involve fluid flow. Okay. And then we have our class 10,000 cleanroom facility, or ISO 7. So class 10,000 is basically the particulate count, meaning in a particular square footage of area within the clean room, there are 10,000 or fewer particles of a particular size. So that is what class 10,000 means. At this class 10,000 facility, we have an optical profiler, which characterizes biological surfaces in a non-contact way. And apart from that, we have the entire suite of instruments for the development of lateral flow assays. So when I mean for the layperson for someone who's totally new to this field and they don't know what lateral flow assays are. So I'm sure during COVID, all of us must have seen this in some form of the other. These are these testing kits, the rapid testing kits that you get. So it has a nitrocellulose membrane enclosed in a nice plastic case, and you just drop your sample, 1 or 2 drops of your sample, and it's just a qualitative test of whether you have a particular disease or not. So to do this, we have to have some specialized instruments, and not many institutes have that capabilities. But at CCamp Medtech, we're proud to say that we have the entire suite of instruments to enable people who are working on this to develop these kinds of assays and sell it to the public. So if I can just play this particular device, this is just a trial run of what this machine would do. It's called a reagent dispenser, and it's capable of dispensing nanoliters of fluid onto a particular substrate. And the substrate that we use over here is nitrocellulose. Okay, so you can dispense any kind of conjugates, antibodies, reagents, anything that you basically want. So that would depend on the kind of assay that you developed for your testing. And one of the USPs of our facility is that we are ISO 13485 certified, meaning for any medical device to be sold in the country, it has to be manufactured or assembled in an ISO 13485 certified facility. So this is an international standard that all countries comply with in the area of medtech devices. So apart from ISO 13485, we are also certified by ICMed. So ICMed is kind of the Indian version of ISO 13485. So what that essentially means is if you want to sell your medical devices within the country or abroad, that's going to make your regulatory processes much easier. The kind of paperwork that you have to deal with is going to be much simpler. So this is just some of our client portfolio. The clients that usually come to us are a mixed bag. So some of them are from academic institutions. Some of them are from hospitals who have a specific requirement. Some of them are startups who are working within CCamp and also who are incubated elsewhere as well. And we also get requests from corporates as well to collaborate and create some novel medical devices. So this is just a quick glimpse of, it doesn't cover all the clients that you've worked with, but just a some of the major players. So within the past, since the inception of the facility, we have worked with about 40 plus clients. And bear in mind that we are a relatively young facility. We are only about 1 year and 6 months old. So we're really happy to say that within this span of time, we've worked with about 40 plus clients. We have delivered about 70 plus projects to these clients. And we have about 10 plus ongoing projects currently. So all these projects happen parallelly. So we don't focus on any one project at any point of time. So like I mentioned before, we specialize in two aspects. One is medical devices. The second is microfluidic devices that have a medtech component to it or a biological application. So I'm going to talk more about the microfluidics capabilities at CCAM, whereas when Dr. Ram comes over, he's going to talk about medical devices or novel product development. So in terms of whenever someone asks me, what do you mean by microfluidics? It sounds like a very fancy word, and I don't really know what it means. I always go back to this analogy. So this is actually the first computer that was transported, and people are shocked when they find out its capacity, its memory capacity. It's about 5 millibytes. That is way back in 1956. And through the process of advancement of miniaturization, microfabrication, we have now reached a stage where we can hold a 1 terabyte hard disk in just between 2 fingers. So that's the kind of miniaturization process that, especially the electronics has gone through. So the reason why I bring this topic is microfluidics is also derived from the microelectronics industry. So kind of techniques that we use to fabricate these devices are derived from the electronics industry. So most of the tools that we have can also be used to make electronics. So this is an analogy that I like to use. So if you imagine a factory, a chemical engineering plant, or a chemical plant with these numerous pipes running all around the facility. So what microfluidics enables you to do is miniaturize that entire plant into a single chip through the process of microfabrication. So you can see that array of pipes and channels running through. It's kind of complex, and it's similar to what it would look like on a macro scale. But only we're just miniaturizing that into a very small form factor. So the reason why microfluidics is so important is at that particular scale, the physics of how fluids behave completely changes. So microscale systems are very vastly different from how macroscale systems behave. So and you get some beautiful, you get to do some beautiful things like this. So what that enables you to do is, I won't get into too many details of how this is possible, but just going to touch upon how it helps us in Medtech. So it enables us to make a rapid diagnosis, mostly because of the various forces that are involved. The way the physics behaves at that particular scale enables you to do a quick diagnosis. If I can just take a quick example, if you consider an ELISA test that you typically do in diagnostic labs, the ELISA test has multiple incubation steps, right? And each incubation steps can take about 20 to 30 minutes. So with microfluidics, you can do that same incubation step in a matter of minutes. So in that way, you're saving out on you're saving out on the materials that you're using because you only need a few microliters of the sample. That translates to a reduction in cost. It's because you're not working with multiple consumables, multiple samples. Second is you're able to make a quick diagnosis because it's scaled down massively. And then you can integrate this system with multiple other components as well. So if you look at the bottom slide over here, this is actually a microelectrode array. So that has been integrated with a microfluidic chip. So when a certain pulse is applied, there are two different liquid streams, and they get mixed together as a result of this pulse. So microfluidics can enable you to integrate the channel or the fluid that you're measuring with multiple systems and also multiple external systems. Let's say you want to connect it to a printed circuit board that enables you to do other analysis, you can do that. If you want to connect a pump to it, you can do that. If you want to develop a machine learning algorithm that can analyze your data, you can do that. So that's what microfluidics enables you to do. And because at this scale, all the experiments are very controlled, what you get is a very accurate and precise measurement. Again, like I mentioned, there are numerous applications of microfluidics in diagnosis, For example, now animal testing is replaced by something called as organs on chips, wherein an entire organoid is cultured on a chip, and then drugs or anything is tested on that particular chip rather than live animals. And again, it has numerous applications in the pharma industry, especially for batch manufacturing. So at CCAMP Medtech, we focus on two kinds of microfluidics, like I mentioned. One is PDMS-based microfluidic devices. The other is plastic-based microfluidic devices. And how I'm just going to run you through the life cycle of a microfluidic chip, starting from idea to proof of concept. And I'm just going to give you some examples along the way. So the stage one of the entire life cycle is to design the product, whatever you want to fabricate. And the way designing is done is you can do two kinds of designing. One is you can use software like Fusion 360 or AutoCAD or SolidWorks to see how the chip would look like in 2D or 3D. So if, for example, the chip that you see on top is a microfluidic chip which has some microneedles on it. This was done for a particular client of ours, an academic client. So although it looks good, it looks very interesting and fancy. Sometimes an idea might not always be translated into a product. So now, if you just want to showcase it as kind of like a novel idea, it may not be translated into a fabrication stage, because although you can introduce these microneedles on this particular design, it may not be practically possible to fabricate it when you go to that stage. So some ideas get terminated over here itself. So if you just want to kind of like showcase a new idea for any particular funding agency or something, then you would do designing and then stop at that stage, and then you would have to look for alternative methods to kind of realize that product. So again, the bottom one is again a microfluidic chip which has serpentine microchannels. This was again designed using Fusion 360. But if you want to fabricate PDMS-based devices, then you use a software called Clevin, the one to your right. So that allows you to, the substrate that you typically use for PDMS is a silicon wafer, the same substrate that you use for electronics. And Clevin allows you to insert your layout on the silicon wafer. You're able to visualize the outline of the wafer, the outline of the mask. So that has some advantages that more traditional software cannot provide. So once you done with the designing stage and you want to go to fabrication, there are different fabrication techniques available. So one is laser cutting. This is the basic form of prototyping. So I'm just going to showcase some examples. So the one on the left is a cell enrichment device, or if you can call it, it's an artificial organ, basically. So this entire device was fabricated using acrylic material. And again, this entire microfluidic structure was done using a laser cutter and also a vinyl cutter. The one to your right is an accessory for a microfluidic device. It's not a microfluidic device in itself, but it's a universal chip holder. So if you have fabricated these PDMS devices, like if I can just go to this, if you have fabricated a chip like this, and you want it to sit on a microscopic stage, and you don't want that position to get changed every time you do it. So this particular chip enables you to do that. Another fabrication technique that we regularly use, in fact, we use it almost all days of the week recently, is micromilling. So micromilling is a subtractive way of manufacturing, meaning you are physically removing material from a substrate. So the substrate that you see here is actually acrylic material, plastic, and we have fed the design into that particular thing. And the machine is going, we have something called as an end mill that goes around the substrate and patterns the design that you want. So the one to your top right is actually the entire chip in its full view. And if you zoom into it, you will see these microchannels. And within these microchannels, you have these serpentine, herringbone structures. And the smallest gap between these herringbone structures as of this chip is about 55 microns. So for someone, I mean, I'm always fascinated by this when I hear the word 55, because it's smaller than the width of a hair, if I can just explain it in layman's terms. And to think that you're able to manufacture it using a mechanical way is something amazing. So not many institutes offer this kind of capabilities to medtech startups as well, and we're glad to provide it. So this is a more traditional way of manufacturing microfluidic devices. This is more used in academics. So for PDMS-based microfluidics, you essentially need a pattern, and that pattern is transferred into a photomask. And using a mask aligner, we are able to load that photomask, and you pass UV light through that photomask onto a substrate. So before that substrate is exposed to this UV light, you spin coat a photoresist. A photoresist is basically an optically sensitive material. So once you develop that photoresist, you're left with patterns on your silicon wafer, like you see on your top right. So on top of this substrate, you pour your PDMS and you allow it to cure. And that becomes a very flexible plastic material. It's optically transparent, it's biocompatible, which is why it is used for biological experiments. So once you have that ready, you can bond it to any other substrate that you want, like glass or another layer of PDMS. Again, we have other techniques as well. We can sometimes combine multiple fabrication techniques. For example, this is an organ on a chip device for a particular client. And we essentially created a mold for this out of acrylic, out of this micromilling machine. And once that mold was created, we poured PDMS into that mold and we demolded it. And then we bonded it to a glass substrate. So this is working very well as per our client's feedback. And they're using it to culture some cells within chip, and they're testing it against different kinds of drugs. So once we have these devices fabricated, we want to test the quality before you send it out to a client. So the way we do that is using profilometers. One is called a stylus profilometer, which can give you a depth profile or a step height along the chip. And the other is but stylus profilometer is a contact way of measuring, meaning the stylus tip is in direct contact with the substrate. Whereas optical profilometer is a non-contact way of characterizing surfaces. It works on a physical phenomenon called white light interferometry. So if you just keep the substrate under the objective head, it scans the profile and it gives you a nice 3D contour in which you can measure dimensions. So more basic quality checks are done using inverted microscopes. And also we have an upright microscope. Both of them are capable of fluorescence detection. And this particular video that you see playing here was actually a video captured through our high-speed camera for one of our clients. And they're working on a droplet microfluidics-based device. And they were able to visualize how the droplets are generated. What is the frequency of the droplet generation? What's the gap between them? How nice are the channels and what's the flow rate? So all those kinds of things you can visualize through a high-speed camera. And once we have done all the quality checks, if you're satisfied with the device and you want to scale it up, you don't want to stay at one, you want to scale it up so that you can be ready for commercialization. We call that as pilot scale manufacturing. And the way that we do that is through two machines, basically. One is a vacuum casting machine. If your quantity is very low, if you want to scale it up to about 20 to 30 copies, then we use a vacuum casting machine in which we create a mold on silicone, and then we pour plastic resin into that, and then we cure it. So each mold can last about 20 to 30 times. So that's where vacuum casting is good. But if you want to scale it up even further, let's say your design is frozen, you are very satisfied with the way your device works, you're confident that it will have a good response in the market, you go for something called as injection molding. So for injection molding, you create a metal mold, a stainless steel mold. That's like a one-time investment that you have to do. And once you have that metal mold, which has the features that you want, the microfluidic features that you want, then the machine is capable of making about 1,000 copies per day with using any kind of plastic that you want, basically. So once you reach that stage, injection molding is going to reduce your per device cost very significantly. So in the initial stage of prototyping, device cost is always higher because you're just working with 1 or 2 devices. But if you're scaling it up, then each device would cost maybe less than 10 rupees. So that's the kind of advantage or the kind of facilities that we provide for microfluidics within Medtech. Now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Ram, who's going to talk more about medical devices and novel product development and the life cycle of a medical device.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Karthik. You have made life much easier to everyone, mentioning that this medical devices development is a much easier process. In fact, I am going to take completely a different pathway from here. It's pretty complex process indeed, but some of the processes which we have mentioned, because of the team, experts team, and the kind of know-how, we make the life of the innovator pretty easy in making these products. So especially in the medical devices development sector, first thing is that anybody looking into the device development, they have to identify the need. What is the need they are trying to solve the problem. Otherwise, identify the need so they can come up with the appropriate technology to address that particular need. So there is no simple, straightforward thumb rule for medical devices development. People say that there are 5-6 steps involved. Some people say it's when development of IT and mobile-based applications are coming, people say it's only 4-step process, but in medical devices, it is not exactly the same. So what will happen over here is that in the first one, we usually need to have idea in place. That means you need to identify the need. Then first of all, first step is that intellectual property, where you usually develop your strategy, how to go forward. Then you apply the provisional patent. Then you try to look for invention, optimization, all such thing. That's totally a different ballgame in comparison to the medical devices development. Then coming to the production design. So we usually, as I mentioned, we need to identify the need. So within that, we need to look at the early R&D. So once we identify the need, what are the things required for addressing that particular need? So then we'll go to the second stage where we'll come up with a proof of concept. So you might be thought about one particular need where you want to solve the need. Then you usually come up with the scientific aspects of that. Then you try to make a proof of concept. So within the proof of concept, the next stage is alpha prototype. So within that alpha prototype, you will be developing a alpha prototype and also alpha test prototype. Okay. So alpha prototype is like next version of the POC, where it clearly gives the minimum features which are required for your device to show the functionality. Otherwise, intended purpose supposed to be met. So then we usually go for the beta prototyping. So beta prototyping is that the next version of the alpha one. That means in this beta prototype, you will be having majority of the features which are similar, otherwise exactly mimicking your final product. But again, here you will be going for the testing of this. Then within that, you go for the design verification, design validation. If something is wrong, there is a high possibility that one can come back. Again, they start from the alpha testing prototype. So it's a pretty much iterative process. Then once we have the beta prototype, that's where the next step comes. Like you will be going for the validations, otherwise basic clinical trials. You also test for safety tests. You look for any kind of sterilization application. Then you go for other applications such as clinical trials, regulatory approvals, all such things. Then you will release the design for manufacturing. So in the next level, it comes risk management. This is pretty much part of the production design, where we usually look for some kind of risks which are associated in developing the product. And also we do the risk analysis. Then we review the designs, because from proof of concept to the beta level, we might have iterated multiple designs. But here we'll try to see which design is good, which design is supposed to go for the large scale manufacturing. So we usually do the design reviews over there. Then if any problems are there, we do usually mitigate the risk. There's another analysis which we usually do is that risk analysis here. So this is called FMEA. Then after that, we go for design master history records, design history file, then validation. All these are the process of the device development. So once these two things are step 1, step 2, and step 3 are ready, then that means you are ready for going for your large scale manufacturing. So here we develop manufacturing strategies. Of course, item number 2, 3, and 4. We partly do item number 4 also, but not fully, because ours is focused on pilot scale production. So in manufacturing, we usually develop manufacturing strategies, then vendor selection, what is a raw material, from where the raw material is supposed to be procured, is that raw material meets some regulatory complaints, all such things are required. So as just now Karthik mentioned, coming to the pilot scale, when your designs are frozen, usually at the manufacturing number 4, we usually translate that into injection molding and other processes, which are usually large scale applications. So other things are involved, which are beyond our capabilities over here, especially because we are focusing on pilot scale. So human factors and compliance and regulatory, those are the things which comes into medical devices development. So in simple, there are 5 phases of medical device development, usually the phase 1. So in phase 1, we, as I mentioned, we initiate, otherwise identify the need, otherwise the problem, otherwise pressing need there. Then we try to identify the opportunity, how can we develop a technology over there. Then we do some kind of risk analysis. So once we are very sure about that, then we try to go for the POC. Within POC, again, we formulate concepts, feasibility, study everything. So that's the phase 2. Then in the phase 3, we come up with a design and development validation. So it CTAM Medtech facility, we take phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and partially in between bridge the gap between phase 4. Usually for phase 4, we are supposed to have all the beta versions or beta devices, otherwise a prototype need to be done. We need to have all the design history files, design records, everything is supposed to be submitted to the regulatory. Then that's where the final validation and product launch will come into picture. Then phase 5 is you launch your product into the market, then you do the post-launch market assessment. So there is a refinement. So why we supposed to focus on pilot scale manufacturing is that when you look at the industry, there are 2 things. One is that we have the academia, which does a lot of basic research and also to some level translation, and where many of these devices are developed at the POC level. But coming to the other end, we have the manufacturing facilities, which are large scale. So now if an innovator or somebody wanted to make 1 or 2 devices, they can't get it done at the academia level, and they can't get it done at the manufacturing level. Because at the manufacturing level, they need millions of pieces. At the academic, otherwise research lab level, they can only make the proof of concept. So that means there is a clear gap between your innovative idea to the translation of the product. So that's exactly CCAM Medtech plays a very vital role, translating that particular idea into your pilot scale models. So that means here a client can come up with his or her own idea. With we are capable of making 1 device to all the way thousands of devices, especially using the injection molding. The capacity is 1,000 units per day. So that means we are clearly bridging the gap. And why we are supposed to do that is that, let's say an innovator or a startup comes to us, instead of directly going to the large scale manufacturer and getting the million pieces done, where the client's supposed to spend a lot of money. But when they come to facilities like ours, so we will do even one unit of the product, where the client can able to see whether this product works or not. And we give inputs in such a way that they can clearly see what are the kind of features they're supposed to integrate within these products to make the product minimal viable product, so that they can take that minimal viable product to the funders, to the other investors, where they can attract some more funding. Then they can go for another trials from pilot scale to large scale trials. Okay, these are some of the new product development activities which we took care at the CCAM Medtech facility. So the first one is the soil testing device. which is completely developed in-house. This particular device was developed through, totally from concept from an innovator. We sat with her and we spent a lot of time. There was not even a paper sketch for this one. However, our engineers and our team spent very good amount of time listening to the innovator, and we completely translated the ideas into a workable, fully functional prototype. So this particular ProSeal, which is used for soil testing, also has a microfluidic device. It can give the real-time GPS location and also gives all the soil testing parameters print on site. So next product which we have taken is that CRISPR-based diagnostic kit, diagnostic device. This is usually belong to one of our client, and the technology came from BARC. This is based on the CRISPR technology. We can't reveal much details about this. However, what I would like to say is that the ideas, concepts from the paper sketches to otherwise like need identification, they translate it into kind of products which can readily go for clinical trial, at least preclinical trials. So the other product is the paper-based sensing system. It's a colorimetric sensing system. We made it for one more client. And this is one of the, I can say, greatest success stories, because there was no availability of materials. So we were running through some crisis because off-the-shelf materials were not available. We were running short of time. Literally, this entire product has been developed within 15 days of time, and we successfully delivered to the client, and they were very happy. So some of the other products we took under a new product development are humidified nasal oxygen unit. This idea came up with one of the medical doctor from AIIMS, where he mentioned is that the oxygen which we supply to the human when they are in ICU supposed to be at particular temperature and should be having particular humidity. Otherwise, this entire nozzle airways are going to get dry and they get into other problems. So we, in fact, he is having a patent disclosure for this, but we made this product completely realized. There were so many off-the-shelf components which were not available. So it took very good amount of time, but finally we made this project successful. Then comes another client where they come up with an oral diagnostic tool for diagnostic tool for oral cancer detection. This is like a camera holding, accessory to a camera. There is an optical light also within that. So we can use this particular device for inspecting the mouth, for looking at the lesions which are in the mouth. And digital stethoscope, this is for one of the clients for whom we made this enclosure successfully. And recently we met them in one of the expos. They were very happy. And in fact, they gave us another order, which is a big one. So what I'm saying is that here, like new products development, though it's looks very easy and very simple, but the ideas can be translated to the product level. Here we usually focus on taking the off-the-shelf the components and trying to build the system in such a way that it meets the intended use. So that's what about the product development activities. From CCAM Medtech side, we also do a lot of outreach activities where we conduct medical devices workshops, microfluidics workshops. These are some of the workshops we recently conducted in 2022. There was a huge participation, and here participants had, it's a hands-on workshop. So usually participants spend 2 or 3 days time with us. They go with a rigorous designing, conceptualization, rather ideation. They come up with again prototype development. So this is another workshop we conducted based on the microfluidics, and all the participants, some of the participants, they had first time experience in the clean room. So not many people know what is the clean room is, but majority of the medical devices supposed to be delivered, rather fabricated, developed in the clean room conditions to meet the regulatory compliance. So this is a recent workshop which we conducted February 2023, where we got very good participation, and many of these participants are pretty new to this particular domain, and they made this their microfluidic devices on their own. So coming to the actual thing is that why you supposed to choose us? Because as Karthik already mentioned, like we are taking these activities from concept to all the way to the pilot scale production. So we are offering designing, prototyping, proof of concept, pilot scaling, all such things. And as I mentioned, there is a huge gap between the academic innovations, rather research lab innovations to the manufacturing. So we exactly build that, breach that particular gap. Hence, there is no minimum order usually. Anybody can walk into us and talk to us. They can usually discuss their ideas. We'll help them realize those ideas in terms of products. And most importantly, for any kind of medical devices development, one need to follow the regulatory compliance. That is very important, because even if you made a beta level prototype, pilot scale prototype, if you do not have the design history file, if you do not follow the compliance, everything, end of the day, again, you will be back to square one. One has to do everything from the beginning. So our facility at CCAMP is ISO 13485 certified. We follow the regulatory compliances, so which will help any clients to get their medical devices at our facility. So with that, I would like to thank participants offline and online for your time. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to any kind of questions from your side. Thank you.
There was one question I think while Karthik was presenting. One you. Maybe can you, if he's online, can you just unmute him? He's online.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, this is Ram here. Could you please ask your question?
I've been following you on LinkedIn for long, and finally I see you in real face. Yeah, I'm just wondering, because I'm in Ireland and I don't think this is a great place for microfluidics, and you are an expert in this area, and I just wonder if, because I'm interested in tissue engineering, so in case if we have
That is not scope of this current talk.
Okay.
We'll remove.
Maybe we can answer like
Answer the right to services.
right. Just unmute so that tell her.
We are in
Hello. She
yeah,
has not here.
I can contact you offline for any queries.
Yeah, you can write to us on services at ccamp.res.in. So though you have mentioned that this is not the place for tissue engineering, however, we are helping many clients to realize this products. We are making hardware where tissue engineering and scaffolds can be developed. So it's a microfluidic devices, or maybe it may fall into our fabrication services. You can write to us. We can discuss more about it.
All right, good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Hello, Dhanashree. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi, Dhanashree. Could you please ask your question?
Yes, sir. Yes. Actually, yeah, the session was very good. Actually, congratulations on that. Yeah, just I'm a PhD scholar staying at Hubli. So I am working on wound healing biopolymer-based nanomembrane. So I wish to take my PhD uh, study. I wish to extend my PhD study to start a startup. So how the CCAP can help me with the prototype development? Like what are the facilities I can avail from CCAM being stayed at Hubli itself?
Facilities. Can you please your last part of the question? Are the facilities from CCAM?
Facilities I can avail from CCAM for my for the prototype developments, starting from prototype development, mentorship, and like I wish to take this study to my own startup. So like
Okay.
what facilities I can avail from the CCAM like in such case?
Yeah, as we have mentioned in the presentation, we have a lot of facilities to help in realizing your product. So it doesn't matter whether it's a tissue engineering or wound healing or anything, we'll help you in realization of the hardware part of it. Especially, let's say if you wanted to make any kind of a microfluidic device, any kind of fluid handling system, where you want to grow the cells within those channels, otherwise chambers, we can help you there. And you can come over to CCAMP and talk to us. Otherwise, we can also have a video call where we can understand your specific needs and how to go forward. We can discuss further.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Right.
Like, where can I may I know the specific? Can you give me the contact address? Where can I do? Hello?
It's in Bangalore. You just type ccamp.res.in. You can just browse through, and if you want to write to us, you can write on services@ccamp.
No, I am aware of that. Like it is in Bangalore. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm also aware of that. It is one of the big partner. So I have applied for the big actually, and
Right.
the initial eligibility, like I have passed the initial eligibility check also. So for
Right.
that, I just like I wanted to collaborate with CCAM so that it can help me for this prototype development and other subsequent the steps. So like just can you just share me the contact details? Where can I just
Yeah, we can start with when you write to us on services, because we are helping many big clients who already got the funding, and some people are really looking for the big. We are helping them realizing their prototypes and ideas. Just write to on services. Will be available immediately.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Right? Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi, Subbu.
Yeah.
Could you please ask your question?
Yeah, sure. So I have put it in the Q&A window as well. So we are a wearable sensor tech company, and right now we are at a POC stage looking for funding. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I met Mr. Dilip and Ms. Ashwita as well, and had a great introduction to the facility around. And that's where I wanted to, even following up on the previous question, that I want to write to CCAMP, even probably even personally visit that this is our product, and these are the different areas. Right now, when you and Karthik spoke, I understood that we have to go through clinical trials. We need support related to that, and then there is a bit of 3D modeling required in terms of how we design our suit sensors, which carries sensors. and also support towards the big or SIBRI or a kind of guidance. So it's
Right.
distributed a little bit here and there. So in such a case, how do we proceed? Can I come by visit, or do we write it in a presentation format? What do you suggest?
So it's up to you. If you are in Bangalore, you can just walk into our facility at CCamp. We can
Mhm.
directly discuss, looking at the where whatever may be the prototype. Otherwise, uh, the hardware available with you, we can spend time and understanding your concept. See,
Great.
since it's a wearable sensor, we may not be able to help you throughout your product development, but we need to identify which are the rather domains, otherwise like activities which we
Mhm.
can take at Medtech facility and can help you. So that which will help you in coming rather combining all the components, otherwise modules developed at CCAM can put together, then you can go for your integrated product. We can do a modules development also within the sensors and microfluidics and medical devices. So there are two ways. One thing is that initially we can have online meeting, maybe a video call, where you will be presenting your idea, we'll be sitting and understanding. That is an easy way to go forward.
Yep.
Once you means that, yes, there are some modules which can be developed over here, then you can come up, visit a CCAM, then we can clearly sit together and identify the activities.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion. So I mean, I'll write to CCamp, and then I think it would be great post 4th of April if we can find between 4th to 10th, because 11th to 14th I will be part of the bio entrepreneurship boot camp. 11th to 14th. I think that's also a great opportunity for me to interact with
No
Taslim.
problem.
And
You write to us. I mean, we are pretty much open for the time slots, not an issue. We can identify the appropriate timing suitable for both of us, like from facility side and from your side. That's not
Great.
a problem. Just write to us so that will initiate the dialogue.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks very
Right.
much.
Thank you, sir. What instrument that you mean by special instrument? Yeah, that's not the questions we have. Correct. Yeah. Any questions from your side? Hope you understood. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So thank you. One question I have is, see, with the way world is going now, we are looking at all VHS version of everything. But coming to the academics part, when academics does something in academics, and that is at the lab, and they reach out to you and they want to, want you to probably connect with the industry, and if there is an industry partner who is interested, right, and you want to probably scale it up to a larger level. And during this process, you might face a lot of challenges in probably converting that device to a large scale. Absolutely. And somewhere in the path, you might know that, that in certain cases, I'm not sure if it doesn't work, you go back to the academics and say that, that this is not going to really work, or if it has to work, you need to do much. Right. What is the kind of reciprocity that you see? So what are the points you have mentioned? Those are actually the practical limitations which are currently happening. I mean, whenever we wanted to translate any kind of academic research into a full-fledged, at least for us, a pilot scale product, we have clearly seen there are many gaps, because a lot of this science is really very good. I mean, we need to appreciate that. Without that, we don't have progress coming there. But in order to demonstrate the science, many of the labs, they take it granted any materials, any kind of designs which they think that they work, they try to demonstrate the proof of principle. However, when we look at the actual translation part of that, many times it does not translate as it is. So we really need to sit with the academicians and try to educate them what are the things which supposed to be incorporated into their designs, otherwise design modification, their proof of principle on totally different set of design. It's bit tricky task, but however, that's the practicality. We need to educate them so that the particular proof of principle should be demonstrated on a devices which can be translated to the production scale. So that's a clear gap right now we are trying to bridge, and we are working with many academic collaborators, and CCAMP is also coming up with a national scheme called as NC Track, which is open up to April 10th. One can apply their academic discoveries through that particular scheme, where we evaluate all those projects and which are the projects which are potential to go for translation stage. CCAMP will take that and translate it. So yeah, we need to have the gap bridged at the academic to industry scale. Absolutely. Thank you. Any more?
Yeah.
If not,
So I think, yeah, we thank you for all your questions. I think we'll conclude the talk now. If you have any questions, further questions, just write to us at services@CCAMP, and then we will be informed of your query. So
thank you so much. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We can do-
Yeah, we can end it.